Because once you understand how a question works, the next step is knowing what questions actually matter. I'm not talking about surface level questions. I'm not talking about survival questions. I'm talking about existential questions. The questions that are pertaining to every human being, no matter their class, their status, where they were born on this planet. These are the questions that shape your life. Who am I? Is the question. Wake up. You've been programmed, but you are more. You are light. You are energy. You are God within. This is divine alignment. I am your guide, and I can only give you the truth. Welcome back, divine seekers of truth, purpose, and clarity. In the last lesson, we went over the power of a question and how a question is a signal to the mind that activates your inner senses, your inner being, your intuition, which puts you on a journey, a quest of seeking the answer. Now, in this lesson today, I invite you to take the next step on your quest and to now apply it to your life. Because once you understand how a question works, the next step is knowing what questions actually matter. I'm not talking about surface level questions. I'm not talking about survival questions. I'm talking about existential questions. The questions that are pertaining to every human being, no matter their class, no matter their status, no matter where they were born on this planet. It is programmed into every human being. These are the questions that shape your life. Who am I? Who am I is the question. Because if you don't know who you are, you will build your life based on what somebody else is telling you who to be. If you don't understand how your identity is shaped, you'll mistake conditioning for truth. First, before we can answer the question, who am I? We must understand what we are not. What you are not. Most people think they know who they are, but what they really know are their titles, roles, and conditioning they were given. Most people think they know who they are, but what they really know are just their titles, their roles, and the conditioning that they were given. See, this lesson isn't about changing who you are. It's about creating separation between who you really are and the titles, roles, and conditioning that society has given you. Separation between who you truly are and who society has taught you to identify with. Because you cannot identify who you truly are when you're still fused with your titles, roles, and conditioning. I'm here to give you the data, the information that you need to know in order to get to this truth. This is my process, my mental framework that I had to go through to get in contact and to know my truth to where I can show up in front of you today in this way, in my truth, connected to my mission, my passion, and my unique message, sharing my mental frameworks. So before we can answer who you are, we're going to break down the 3 things the world gave you. The world gave you, which is 1, societal titles, societal roles, societal conditioning. Once you're able to see these clearly, you can only then begin to step out of them. That is where the journey begins. Because here is the truth. If you don't know who you are, someone else will tell you who to be. So let's start with the first one, societal titles. Societal titles. A title describes an activity. It does not describe your essence. This is important information you need to know in order for you to see yourself in your truth. This is the data that you need to collect. When you apply this knowledge to yourself, what you're doing is you're developing a mental framework. My inner being, when I asked myself who I am, it sparked my inner being. I started to have a vision of this person that's showing up in front of you today. I would hear a voice of my highest and wisest self, my highest faculty, guiding me to read this book, watch this video, ask these questions. I was paying attention to how these questions and how this voice made me feel. It made me feel peace. It gave me clarity. It gave me motivational, hormonal cocktails that moved my emotions. It moved me to behave a certain way, to keep taking steps, to do different things, have different experiences, to go on this journey to get the answer. This is my process. I first had to understand, what are societal titles? Who am I outside of that? I had to first know and learn what were societal titles. A title is something that describes an activity that you're doing. It does not describe your essence, your inner being. I'm going to put up some examples of different titles that we gain and achieve, or we could even achieve in society, so you can start seeing them and separating yourself. Here's some examples. We have student, employee, athlete, influencer, gamer, doctor, realtor. These are some examples that if I were to ask you, who are you? This is some of the things that you would tell me. You would tell me, well, I'm a student, I'm an employee. You tell me where you work, what you do at your job, your title. You will tell me that you're an athlete, if you're into that. You'll tell me if you're an influencer. You'll tell me things like a gamer, a doctor, a realtor. These are just descriptors of activity. Let's break down a student. What does a student do? Student is someone who is currently learning in a system. Someone currently learning in a system. That is a title. You are someone who is currently learning in a system. What is an employee? An employee is someone who trades their time for money. You might give me a title of someone who trades their time for money. An athlete, someone who trains and competes in a sport. An influencer is someone who creates content and influences attention. A gamer is someone who interacts within digital worlds. A doctor is someone who is trained to diagnose and treat the body. A realtor is someone who facilitates property transactions. Notice something here. Every title describes an action, not an identity. You can stop being a student tomorrow. As an athlete, you can get injured. As an employee, you can get fired. A gamer can lose their interest. A doctor can retire. And a realtor can change careers. All of this can be taken away. If it can be taken away, it's not who you truly are. What I'm doing is I'm now starting to get you to separate yourself from the titles. These are just actions that you do. You existed before the title, and you will exist after it. Now, in this next part, we're going to break down what are societal roles. Because here's the truth. People tell you all the time to know who you are, know your purpose, know your passion in order to live your dream life. They never tell you what is the data, what is the information you need to collect in order to know who you are, to know your purpose. This is the information, this is the data you need to know. The power of a question why it's important, what it does, and the functions of your mind. Because again, if you don't know how your reality is created, somebody else does, and they will tell you who to be, and you will be programmed. Most of us are living a programmed life and don't even know it. You have to wake up to the matrix. This is the information you need to know. You need to know, what are societal titles? What are the titles? What are the actions? What is the conditioning? You need to know what the matrix is. That is going to be another lesson down the line. Once we get through the Awakening Workbook, this is coming out of the Awakening Workbook. It breaks down the 6 existential questions that are programmed into every human being. It breaks it all down, and there's exercises in there. That way you can build that mental framework to get to your truth, your answer. This is the data. This is the information you need to know. It is the most important information you need to know, because a lot of us are suffering from not being aware. What are societal roles? A role is a performance. Identity is not. Now we're going to break down the different roles that you're performing that is not your identity. I'm going to give you guys some examples. We have son/daughter roles. These are some of the roles we perform. We have friend, leader, follower, the funny one, the strong one. A role is something that you are expected to do in certain situations. As a son or daughter, you are expected to be obedient, respectful, cap here, strong, and even quiet in certain situations. Friend is expected to be loyal, supportive, and available. A leader is expected to be confident, decisive, and responsible. A follower is somebody who is expected to comply, not question. Someone who is expected to comply, not question. The funny one, you're expected to make everyone laugh, even when you're hurting. Come on now. The strong one, you're expected to never break and to never need help. See, a role tells you how to behave in a certain situation. Behavior is something that you do. It is not who you are. You can act confident and still feel insecure. You can act strong and still feel exhausted. There's so many of us that do that. You show up, we're always so strong. And, on the inside, we're falling apart. We're falling apart as we're being so strong. And a lot of us feel deeply insecure, are showing up like we're so confident. We're just performing actions. We're performing roles. It's not who we truly are. You can act happy and still feel sad, because your behavior is your response. Your identity is deeper. Next part we're going to move into, we're going to learn, we're going to continue on this journey, getting the data points. We're going to learn and understand what is societal conditioning. In order to know who you are, to know what you are not. Because a lot of us are mixing up our identities with our titles, our roles, and our conditioning. What is societal conditioning? Conditioning is the invincible programming. Come on now. It is the invincible programming. Conditioning is learned beliefs that automatically play in the background of your mind. Conditioning is the beliefs that automatically play in the background of your mind. A lot of you guys don't even realize the different conditioning that you're in, because you don't know who you are. You've never took the steps to learn this, so that way you can start seeing that for yourself. We're going to go through some examples of some societal conditioning. Example 1. Success equals money. This condition is something that we're all brought up and experiencing in this society. How this shows up in society is, for example, like with the social media. It shows you that luxury equals success. It shows you that people with money are considered to be successful and should be obtained to, and they're the ones that are the influencers and that are in power because they've acquired all of these materials and riches. Social media shows us that. They get rewarded. Movies rewards rich heroes. Usually the heroes that have all of this technology and have all of this sophistication, those are the heroes that get rewarded, is they have to have all these riches. We see it in the movies that we watch. Schools push careers based on salaries. They have programs in schools that will tell you just enough so that way you can get a job, so you can work. They base what that knowledge is around based on the earning potential, the salary that you can earn. And they fast track you to college, have bridgeways to college. So that way, when you get done with college, you get that degree, you can earn a certain amount of money. You can have the materials, the car, the house, the neighborhood, the clothes, the lifestyle, the family. Those things you can't take with you to your next life. Also, how this shows up in society is the number one question that adults ask is, how much does a job pay? And they take jobs based on pay. You're trained to chase money before even asking if it aligns with who you are. That's why most people are obtaining these lifestyles, they're attaining these degrees, attaining these jobs, and checking off all the boxes just to realize that they went through all of that and still feel unfulfilled. They still don't know who they are. They still don't know their purpose. They don't know their mission. They don't know their passion. They're not connected with it. Another conditioning. Rest is laziness. How this shows up in society that rest is laziness is when you look all over social media, we live in this hustle culture where, you got to be making $100,000 a month in order to be successful. And if you ain't making that, then you lazy. You ain't working hard enough. I'm not making $100,000 right now, but I still feel like I'm very productive. I feel like I'm successful being able to do the transformative work within myself to show up in this way, to take the time it took to organize my thoughts in a way to where I can teach it, to learn about my strength so that way I can use it, my strength in communicating complex ideas into simple terms so that way I can teach it. I'm still successful and I am not lazy. I am being very productive. In this society, it shows up with this hustle culture. You got to be working all the time. You got to be doing all kinds of things. We praise overtime. We praise being overworked. We attach our productivity to our value and our worth. What's really happening is that you're being rewarded for exhaustion, not balance. The next conditioning is being alone is weird. There's this conditioning that's out there where it's like you always have to be around people, you gotta socialize, you gotta network all the time, do this, do that. Just like some of us like being alone. Society makes us feel weird for that. It's like we're constantly pressured to socialize with others, and I don't always want to socialize with others. I am totally content with being in my own mind and hearing and talking with my inner being. I'm totally content with that. It's showing up in social media where it's like everybody's always outgoing and doing things. It's like if you're introverted, you just a little judgy. They don't like to interact with us. You're always off to yourself. You don't want to be around people. No, not everybody wants to be around performances. Some people like to just be who they are and be within themselves. It's like we get judged for it if you're an introvert. People also fear silence. Like, I don't always know what to say in certain social situations, so I just say nothing. It's like silence is awkward. You always have to keep filling space. You see that being alone is weird. It shows up huge in society because a lot of people are doom scrolling on social media. They're constantly needing distractions. They can't sit alone. They can't sit within the thoughts of their minds. So they're constantly on their phones needing to be distracted so they don't have to sit with themselves and deal with their inner thoughts. Some people recharge. They recharge their energy and their battery when they're alone. That doesn't make them broken. The fourth one, you need approval to be valued. We see this in our society. It shows up in the degrees that we're conditioned to have, believe that we need in order to speak our truth. Like in the back of my mind, this conditioning in the back of my mind, well, in order for me to show up in this way in myself, I gotta have, and for people to hear my mental framework and to see how I see the world, I need a degree to do it. I had to get rid of that conditioning. I don't need a degree to teach what I know. Because what I know, it's outside of the institutions that are meant to make me believe that in order for me to be successful, I have to have money. Me being in rest in peace is laziness. Being alone is weird. I had to excavate that mindset and conditioning from my mind. You don't need a degree to speak your truth, nor do you need certificates of approval to speak your wisdom. You don't need money to be respected. In this society, we're taught that people with money are the ones that are leaders. They're the ones that are respected because they have all the money. But I too deserve a level of respect. I too am a human being. We don't need likes to feel seen when we're able to see ourselves in our truth. What this conditioning is doing is teaching you that your value is stamped by a system. But truth doesn't require permission. Most people don't realize that they're living a programmed reality. Most people don't choose their lives. They repeat programming. You make choices based on beliefs that you never questioned. That is what we've been doing. I realized I had to wake up to that because I was making choices based on, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get this job. It's going to make me a certain amount of money. I'm going to buy me a home. I'm going to have the neighborhood, the house, the car, the clothes, the lifestyle. I'm going to have all that. And once I achieved all that, once I got it, I wasn't fulfilled. None of this is fulfilling. That is what set me on this journey of asking the question. People are living a programmed reality. What does it mean to live a programmed reality? What does it mean to live a programmed reality? A programmed life. It means you go to school, you get a job, you chase money, you stay mad busy, you feel unfulfilled, you're depressed, you don't know who you are, you feel unfulfilled, you're lost, you're stuck in life, and you repeat the process all over again. Like, this is what we mean by living a programmed reality. You're programmed from an early age to go to school, get a job, chase money, stay busy, feel unfulfilled, and repeat. That is a suffering that we're experiencing. We're wondering why we're suffering. It's because of the conditioning. It's because of the programming. In order for you to wake up to it, you have to learn what your title is, what the role that you're performing, and the conditioning that you were given. So you can step out of that and separate yourself from it. And you'll see that all these things can change and you still remain you. This explains how you live based on expectations, not alignment with your truth. That's living someone else's script. When you confuse titles, roles, and conditioning with your identity, you end up living someone else's life. If titles, roles, and conditioning is not who you are, then the next question is, who are you? What makes you who you are? What are the different components that make you who you are? The next video, we're going to go into the different pillars, the components that make you who you are. It is the next step, the next phase, the next part of your journey, the data points that you need to collect to build that mental framework of your truth. If you enjoyed this video and got a lot from this video, I'd love to hear from you. I love if you have any questions, put it in the comments. In the next video, we're going to go further into breaking down the 4 components and the pillars that make you who you are.
Continue on your quest, Seekers. I'll see you next time.